Do you like freedom? Do you? Because I like freedom. And you know what helps with freedom? Cars. Cars help with freedom. Particularly cars that can be modified in such ways that the Top Gear guys would be very impressed by. And for that reason, I'm assisting with the summer initiative to raise funds through Car for Ukraine. Now, it's our goal to raise 11,000 euros. Now, I know that's a lot, so I don't expect us to hit it. I just hope we have a fair crack over the next 8 or so weeks to go towards a car for Ukraine. Now, there will be some incentives along the way that I will announce with upcoming videos, including weeks where the top donation will get something free from my merch store. Watch out for those donations. Or also a couple of other things that I may have in the works, including a large live stream, which I'm semi-planning off the top of my head. Now, there are some initiatives, though, to get you donating already. So anyone who donates 100 euros will get a special pin with my logo on the little card and the pin itself. Now, these kinds of vehicles, they go to places like Pokrovsk, Chasiv, Liman, Kherson, all these places that you've seen in the news. Cars like this get sent to. So you will actually be able to make a tangible impact on the war for the good guys. You want a collectible patch? Well, you can get that too for everyone who contributes 100 euros or about 110 US as well. For the first 50 who donate 250 euros or $275 or more, they'll be able to receive a special signed patch from the unit. Now, this is 50 patches across 8 different donation schemes, so you got to get in really quick to get these. If you want that, don't wait. And lastly, if you spend 2,500 euros, you'll be able to brand a truck on one side with whatever you want. Your logo, name, country's flag, whatever you want. It will be your truck effectively, and you'll get updates on the truck, what it's up to, and effectively what it's doing in the war. These trucks are so important. So important. I can't stress enough for Kazivac, for support, for the men. It genuinely saves lives. These trucks save lives. I've seen just how important they are in person. Pin link in the comments and in the description. Can't thank you enough to everyone who's already donated and those who will donate. Back to the video. My plan was to sit up and watch the Zimbabwe vs England Test cricket match. Well, match is a strong way of describing the English annihilation of Zimbabwean cricket's hopes and dreams, but the funniest thing just happened. And it is 10 PM at night. Now, to preface, this quite literally happened at the time of recording less than 4 hours ago. 4 hours. So if things are wrong in hindsight as news comes out, it's brand new news, so you know why. But North Korea just bottled its navy so hard, I can hear the ghost of Admiral Rossosvensky screaming. And the best part? This newfangled boat thing was built with the backing of none other than the pure expertise, the genius, if you will, of the Russian Navy. That's right, kids. It's time for the Russian Navy Sucks on tour. We're going to North Korea. So to preface, we need to set some basic knowledge for why this is so unbelievably funny. See, the thing is, a little while ago, North Korean soldiers began showing up in numbers in eastern Ukraine, which, while mental, seemed to not make anyone care too much, even though it quite literally is a case of North Korea invading Europe. But sure, United Nations, you keep being your useful self. Anywho, the price that Russia was paying for this kind of help is something that people have been wondering for quite a while. I mean, you don't just get an ego-driven nepo baby dictator to give up his soldiers for your vanity project for nothing. And that brings us to this thing. The Cho Hyun class destroyer. I am definitely saying that wrong. Well, really, it's a frigate playing big boy, as it's about 5,000 tons with VLS armed missiles and some other fangly-dangly bits. Mostly a phased radar array, but we question whether or not it actually does something. We're not sure. Either way, it's the most powerful vessel by far ever operated by the North Koreans. No, don't laugh. They're really trying. The North Korean People's Navy, or the Korean People's Navy, aka the KPN, is a bit of a mess though, and it's divided into 2 geographically distinct fleets. The East Sea Fleet, which operates in the Sea of Japan, and the West Sea Fleet, which patrols the Yellow Sea. Now, on paper, there's about 700 plus ships in this navy, but they are effectively two fleets isolated from one another due to the Korean Peninsula's geography with no direct waterways linking the coasts. The division greatly limits the Navy's ability to deploy forces flexibly across the peninsula or reinforce each other with one or another's ships during the conflict, which creates a significant strategic constraint. But the size of the Navy is on paper large. In practice, well, it's not particularly threatening. When you count everything from a canoe up to a small frigate as a warship, well, you kind of fudge your numbers a bit. To make up for the lack of funding for large vessels and the geographically challenged situation of the North Koreans, the KPN operates one of the world's largest submarine fleets by number. See, that's the thing, by number again. However, this force consists of mostly small, outdated vessels with limited combat capabilities. Amongst these are the old Soviet-designed Romeo-class diesel-electric submarines, some of which date back to the 1950s. More modern though, still very rudimentary, are the Sang-O class coastal submarines, which are used for reconnaissance and infiltration missions. Also, kidnapping people, but that's a whole other thing. Perhaps the most notorious submarines in their arsenal are the Yono class mini-subs, or effectively one journey wonder submarines. And they are believed to have played a part in the 2010 sinking of the South Korean warship the Cheonan. I really can't speak Korean. I am so sorry for my 3 Korean viewers. Which resulted in the deaths of 46 South Korean sailors and significantly escalated the tensions across the Korean peninsula. But we don't know for sure if that kind of submarine sank the ship or not. Again, it's North Korea. There's a lot of cloak and daggers going on. The North Korean surface fleet, meanwhile, though, is composed of a large number of small, very fast ships such as torpedo boats, missile boats, and patrol craft. Most of these ships, though, like I said before, are extremely outdated, kind of held together by hopes and dreams, and they use older missiles like the Styx missile from the USSR. If they're not really old and outdated, they're relatively new but undergunned Chinese export versions of effectively older copies of Soviet ships or slightly newer Chinese designs. It's not the most impressive arsenal, put it that way. In short, the North Korean Navy is really a two-trick pony right now. It could fling a lot of missiles at one target, or maybe a swarm of rusty torpedoes of which some will detonate, possibly, maybe, if you pray hard enough. It might, and I stress this, might have the ability to defend the North Korean coastline if someone tries to force their way in, but at the end of the day, it is hopelessly outmatched and desperately needs more flexibility. And I don't mean outmatched by the United States, I mean the South Koreans could body the North Korean Navy in a weekend and probably still have time to go home and have afternoon tea. This, therefore, is the naval part of the payment for helping Russia that we think they may have received to try and save face in Ukraine. It's expected that the army will likely get some armor support, possibly with its new tank program. Maybe we'll see North Korean T-14s, which just, please God, it would be so funny. And the Air Force might get the Su-57 if they can ever build more than 6 of the things that stay in the air for a long period of time, or maybe an older model Sukhoi that the Russians are retiring because they don't have enough competent pilots to use them constantly and they can make some money out of them. We're not sure. Watch this space. Likely it will happen relatively soon. But anyway, the first ship in this little class, the Chohyun, or Chohyun, we'll call it the Cho, launched on the 25th of April 2025 on the west coast of the nation. And by all intents and purposes, while it's not the most effective looking thing, it's much more effective than anything they have, or anything they had. And it kind of looks nice. I'm not going to lie, I like the aesthetic of it. The second ship in this class, though, oh boy, that's where the fun begins. The second ship in the class of VLS-armed Super Mega Death Destroyers that are better than the ones in Star Wars, wait, no, it's actually just a frigate, entered the water on the 21st of May, 2025. But there is some nuance in that statement. Up in the northeast of Kimland, the second ship began the day of the 21st of May getting covered in special flags on its launching stocks for its special day. The plan was to launch the ship sideways in the port of Chongjin, and definitely saying that wrong too, and shortly after she would sail out to her sea trials once she fitted out to join the fleet. Now you may be asking, why launch it sideways? Well, that's because launching it backwards takes up a significant amount of space in busy waterways, and can lead to diving the hull into the sand, and in general it can be quite dangerous to actually launch ships in the traditional way. So there are effectively two other ways you can launch a ship. One of them is building the ship in a dry dock and then floating it out. And that's the way that really large ships like aircraft carriers and megatankers are built these days. It's not the big Titanic slipways sort of thing that you've seen before. It's a bit less stressful on the hull these days because ships get bigger and bigger and bigger and it's more dangerous. But for a smaller ship, you can launch a ship sideways. It sort of just smacks into the water and then bobs up and hey presto, you have a ship. It's really, really common, and it became extremely common during the Second World War, when submarines and large vessels were being built on busy waterways such as the Great Lakes and rivers in the United States. As the newfangled ship though began to move, it appears somebody didn't tell the people responsible for the bow of the ship that it too needed to enter the water, because it was attached to the rest of the ship. Did I mention that it is likely that the launching mechanism is Russian made and possibly Russian operated? And so, with none other than Kim Jong-un sitting pretty on the shoreline watching, the brand new ship, probably worth half the nation's naval budget for the year, tilted over, stern first, and with what would have been a horrific grinding sound, the ship rolled onto its side and into the river. Bow still on land. The North Korean state media was quick to say that nobody was injured and everything was fine. However, South Korea, the absolute legends, made sure the world knew straight away, and now we have these photos of the ship on its side. To use the technical term, she's rooted. Now, Kimmy is absolutely not having it, and he has taken the sane and rational step of blaming his military officials, his scientists, and the shipyard operators, who, let's be frank, are not long for this world. He has described this incident as a serious accident and criminal act caused by absolute carelessness, irresponsibility, and unscientific empiricism. Got a lot of words out there. His tantrum, though, wasn't over, because the sheer vision of his bathtub toy in the water on its side led Kim to claim that this accident has tarnished the country's dignity and that the officials responsible would be dealt with at the plenary meeting of the party central committee to be convened next month. Now, Kim, my guy, my homie, I ask you a genuine question. What dignity? Now, I just want to point out a couple of things about the situation that the ship is in, because quite frankly, it is genuinely screwed. Salt water is now literally in everything, every sensor, nook and cranny. To save this ship, they're going to have to quite literally gut it, rebuild it. In fact, it might just be cheaper at this point to genuinely rebuild the whole thing from scratch and use this for razor blades. But first, they have to recover it and get it on land. This ship was supposed to be part of Kim's big naval build-up to fight the South Koreans in the United States, with the help of his new Russian allies. It was supposed to carry nuclear-armed cruise missiles. Yes, North Korea is entering its Davy Crockett era. It was supposed to be the future. Work has begun to fix the problem, but it seems the North Korean Navy has sprung right into action already, and they're getting to the business of fixing the ship by putting a big blue tarp over it. I mean, I guess. My cat seems to think hiding under the blankets works even though he sticks out, so I guess this might work to hide it from the west as well. Maybe. Possibly. Now, yes, I know what half the comment's going to be. They're going to be a whataboutism for that American carrier that just lost a few planes off its deck, and honestly, fair call, that is beyond stupid. I'm still trying to figure out how the Yanks have managed that, but if I have learnt anything this year, it's that we can just blame everything on DEI and call it a day. But, and here's the big but, North Korea has yet again proven that you can't just rush your boats, and if you're going to do it, maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't reach out to the Russians for assistance given their remarkable track record when it comes to naval shenanigans. In future, North Korea intends to get a either nuclear-powered or nuclear-armed submarine. I've seen reports on both. If it's nuclear-powered, it's probably going to be a second-hand Soviet submarine that the Russians are in the process of retiring or scrapping, which, you know, it's not like we need the oceans not full of radiation or anything. Or it's going to be nuclear armed, in which case it most likely will be a repeat of the submarine they've allegedly built, where you can only stand in either the front of the boat or the back of the boat because there's a giant missile tube that takes up the center of the boat, and it's an old diesel boat, so it's questionable whether it could fire. Did I mention that North Korean artillery in Ukraine has, in some instances, up to a 50% failure rate for duds? Still dangerous, still kill people. 50% is still half of what we should have it at, but still, I don't trust North Korea to build anything too well when it comes to this stuff. With that said again, I don't think hearing from me is just quite enough. I know whose opinion you all really want to hear. So without further ado, I will pass you over to my good friend Laserpig to provide his keen insights on this situation as it rapidly develops in North Korea and the news spreads around the world. It is truly important that we get his deep insights on the situation because, quite frankly, 2 opinions is better than 1. Pig, your thoughts?
Look at it. It's fucking. Oh, I can't swim. Look at me, Harry.
Charming, inspired, unique, and incredible. We are now informed.